we're getting the next Xbox early. What is up, y'all? I am Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. That is right. The latest games, news, rumors, pretty much anything I want to talk about, as long as it's about Xbox in some way. And in today's video, we're gonna be talking about the Xbox Prime. What is it and when can you expect it? So there's been a lot of speculation about what Microsoft is gonna do going forward with their gaming hardware, with many people theorizing, well, they just weren't gonna make consoles anymore because they are not selling like the PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch. But don't believe the haters, y'all. Do not believe it. Don't count Xbox out yet, especially in the hardware race, because not only are we getting a next-gen Xbox, we're getting multiple next-gen Xboxes. And according to this guy on Twitter, wow, what a way to start off. The Ghost of Hope, who usually talks about Call of Duty leaks, he posted on Twitter, he said, "Take this with a huge grain of salt. I'm hearing that the next Xbox console is coming in 2026 and will be called Xbox Prime. Still unclear if it's a code name or the actual name. I've heard Infinity Ward's next Call of Duty is still being considered a day one release for this." He continues to add on to this, "I've also heard the Xbox handheld is coming after this console, in case anybody cares about that." Now, there are a couple of things about this that tracks. We know that Xbox is making some sort of successor to the Series X. We've also been hearing separate rumors saying that, yeah, they might try to get a jump on the PlayStation 6 by releasing the next-gen hardware early. So there's a lot about this. I was like, okay, Ghost of Hope, I'm with you. Yes, this is all making sense until he threw out Xbox Prime.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
I don't know, like, that just completely destroyed it for me. I know people are already roasting it on Twitter, online, and all that. Xbox Prime, you know, I know that Xbox, historically, have been pretty freaking terrible with their naming conventions. Going from Xbox to Xbox 360 to Xbox One to Xbox Series. But I refuse to believe that any self-respecting tech company would come out and name their flagship bit of hardware something like Xbox Prime. Like something straight out of like a multiversal comic. Like Prime, really, like what is this, some sort of like Logan Paul, or who does a Prime drinks? Like KSI or the Logan, I don't even know. I believe that there's a next-gen Xbox. I don't believe that it's gonna be called Xbox Prime. Maybe that's the code name, I don't know. That would be completely different from the code names that we've been hearing. Prime, I don't know, that just destroyed everything for me. And the Ghost of Hope, in fact, it looks like he's having some doubts too, because he followed those tweets up with, if this is real and I wasn't being lied to by my source, then should I expect lawyers at my door? LOL. Not sure they can legally do anything when I haven't signed an NDA. And then Jess Corden, Mr. Windows Central himself, jumped in and he says, nah, because it's not true. People are already shooting it down, like this thing is dead in the water before it can even get any traction. But even if the next Xbox isn't something goofy like Xbox Prime, we know for a fact that Microsoft is working on it. We know that it's a real thing and that it's coming out, maybe not in 2026, but it's going to eventually be in our living rooms. So let's go over what we can actually expect from the Xbox Series Prime. Most of what we know about Microsoft's next-gen Xbox comes from a statement that Sarah Bond, who is now the head of hardware at Xbox, made a few months back, where she promised that this new Xbox would represent the biggest generational technical frickin' leap that we've ever seen before. Bigger than frickin' going from Xbox to 360. Bigger from 360 to Xbox One. It was gonna be huge and it's gonna blow your damn mind. Okay, she didn't say that exactly, but no matter the wording, that's a pretty big promise. The problem is no one knows what that actually means. Even Phil Spencer was like, yeah, it's getting harder and harder to work in these upgrades to this hardware in a way that's gonna make people jump and say, I need that. Because here's the problem. Everyone wants top tier graphics, top tier performance, the best looking games, but they don't want to pay too much for it. Sure, the PS5 Pro may represent a top of the line gaming experience, but when people saw that $700 price tag, they were like, ooh, I don't know if I want it that much. No matter what direction Xbox decides to go in with this next generation console, the biggest challenge for them is going to be delivering on that promise, a big tech upgrade, something that's going to make current users leave behind their Series X or their Series S or whatever and convince other people to buy into it, while also keeping the price low and affordable. So what do? Well, what little we have heard about this next generation Xbox is that Microsoft is potentially going to lean heavily on generative AI upscaling and machine learning, which would bring it closer to what we see from Xbox games on PC. That being said, it's entirely possible that in the next couple of years, Xbox is going to reveal their own in-house upscaling tech, kind of like what Sony does with PSSR. And I know, no one likes to hear the words upscaling. We want true, we want native, we want raw performance. But listen, the reality is that even the top of the line graphics cards and GPUs need upscalers, even something like a 4090. So if they need to use it more on consoles, sure, I'm in on it. I don't think it's gonna ruin the experience. Right now, Xbox consoles use FSR. It caps out at FSR 3.1. But just a couple of hours before I shot this video, Matt Booty, every time I say his name, I just kind of giggle inside. He shows up at CES and he's like, FSR 4.0, it's coming to Black Ops 6. He didn't really go into details about what FSR 4.0 could do. He did stipulate that it's only going to be supported on PC. That being said, I'm pretty sure we can go ahead and assume that this next-gen Xbox, whatever the name is, however they design it, whatever shape it is, it's going to support FSR 4.0 as well. Because as we know, Xbox is doing this thing right now where everything's an Xbox, not just console. It would behoove them, you like that word, behoove them, to figure out an AI upscaling thing that they can use across the board, no matter the version of their game, whether it's on PC, whether it's on console, whether it's using it in their cloud gaming servers before they beam it to your computer or your phone, which would be pretty awesome because that's not even something that Sony has. PSSR, it's only consoles. They can't use it on the PC versions of their game. Let's get off upscaling for a bit and look at this slide that we got courtesy of all those gaming leaks that happened at the end of 2023 with Xbox. A lot of what we're talking about right now shows up in this leak, albeit they're targeting like a 2023, 2024 release date. It's just like a baby version, I think, of what we can expect for the next generation console. I'm talking specifically about this slide that's titled Cohesive Hybrid Compute. They want to develop a next generation hybrid game platform capable of leveraging the combined power of the client and cloud to deliver deeper immersion and entirely new classes of game experience. Optimized for real-time gameplay and creators, we will enable new levels of performance beyond the capabilities of the client hardware alone. There's that language again. They want to punch above their weight. They talk about cloud hybrid games. I don't really know what that would look like in terms of gameplay or game development, but there's no way that this next-gen Xbox ships and it doesn't out-the-box support cloud gaming. That took a little bit to come on over to Xbox Series consoles and also Xbox One consoles. That's going to be a day one out-the-box feature for Xbox Prime or whatever its name is going to be. It's just too big of the overall Xbox strategy right now. In this slide, again, they're alluding to upscaling, maybe a little bit of machine learning, and also keeping things cheap. A thin operating system that is sub $99, especially for handheld services. And while yes, a lot of these things that we saw from these leaks, they didn't come to fruition. The Xbox Brooklyn that looks like an Alexa tower, Elwood, but Phil Spencer has come out and said, yeah, everything in those leaks was real. It's just that things have changed. I'm willing to bet a lot of the language that they're using in this slide and others is real and that we're gonna see it in the next generation Xbox. And that leaves us with the release date. Like I mentioned earlier, people have been speculating, 2026, so they get a couple of years on whenever PlayStation launches the PlayStation 6. And these documents and these leaks and all of that craziness that was happening with the FTC investigation into the Activision Blizzard deal, the year 2028 kept popping up for the PlayStation 6 and the next gen Xbox. My gut is telling me that it will be closer to 2028, but at the same time though, I'm like, it might really help them out to get off cycle from PlayStation. If they don't make it to 2026, maybe split the difference, shoot for 2027. Xbox needs to get out of PlayStation shadow a little bit. So I personally wouldn't mind if they went ahead and dropped this thing early. PlayStation 6 is definitely a 2028. I would consider that a lock because there's no way that they would drop drop next-gen hardware so soon after releasing the PS5 Pro. They gotta give the Pro a little room to breathe, whereas Xbox, they didn't have a mid-gen refresh, so there's nothing stopping them from doing the opposite. Personally, I'm really excited to see whatever Xbox is working on. This handheld, the Series X2. I'm praying to God that it's not the Xbox Prime because I think that's corny as hell. But we're in this position where it's like, okay, Xbox is, I feel like they're gonna swing for the fences a little bit. We're gonna see some weird stuff. Maybe a hybrid PC console. I think that'd be really cool. That's gotta be one of my favorite rumors surrounding the Xbox Next. That's gonna be something sort of like the Steam Machine. Granted, this is just something I kind of went wild with after Phil Spencer made those comments of like, yeah, it'd be really cool to open up our consoles to other storefronts like the Epic Game Store. But if they decided to go that route, I feel like it would alleviate a lot of their headaches, even though at first it would be kind of weird. Specifically, it would address one of the biggest concerns that keep popping up from Microsoft this generation, which is developers and studios constantly complaining that they gotta make a Series S version of their game, having to make a PC version, a Series X version, and a Series S version of our game every single time.
Art, can you speak a little bit about what it's like to develop such a visually impressive game for not just one Xbox, but two Xboxes and PC?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Very challenging. Yeah.
Xbox needs to be thinking, how can we make these studios' lives easier? As our install base continues to shrink on the console side, how can we continue to incentivize them to keep making games for us? And sure, they can throw around like, oh, you will be exposed to this whole new audience if you bring your game to Game Pass, XYZ. But it'd be pretty smart if eventually, keeping in mind that developers will still have to support the Xbox Series X and S for the next couple of years, even into next generation, if Microsoft could eventually be like, you know what, guys, don't even worry about it. Just make a PC version of your game. Obviously, it can run on the Xbox app for PC, but it can also run on this little like PC console hybrid thing that we got coming out. And boom, you would eliminate all of that drama, all these articles like this saying the Series S was a mistake. Jade King, I see you. Imagine trying to explain this article to someone who bought a Series S that is not like constantly locked into the news cycle for the industry. Like, I bought my wife a Series S because she really wanted to play Hogwarts Legacy on it and got hours and hours and hours of enjoyment out of that game and many others. I'm just laughing thinking about how little she would care if I came to her with this article being like, the Series S was a mistake. I can't believe we bought this. I can't believe you played on it. You're contributing to the downfall of the industry. I'm getting a little off track here, especially considering I've done a lot of videos defending the Series S. I think for its price point, it punches well above its weight. I think it's cool that Microsoft is providing us with an alternative, cheaper hardware option, whereas others are trying to charge you an arm and a leg. But ultimately though, whether or not the Series S is truly a problem for Xbox, if it's truly holding back the gaming industry, I can't personally say. I get a lot of mixed answers from people who work in the field, and I've personally never tried to develop a game for the Series S. I've never tried to develop my own game at all. But at the very least, if Microsoft says, okay, next gen Xbox, the handheld, they're going to be running the PC versions of the game like you see on the ROG Ally, and therefore unifying the versions of their games that come out, they could avoid a lot of headlines like these. And slowly, as the generation goes on, they can wean off the Series X and S and set themselves up for this future they keep talking about where they're more focused on PC while still supporting their console player base. But it's clear that they need to shake things up in a way that justifies them making hardware in the first place and supporting it. If we're just looking at hardware sales, we've seen that they can't go toe-to-toe with PlayStation. Even though if you pop open the hood of both a PS5 and a Series X, they're pretty much the same. Gen 9 showed us that Sony releases a console, Microsoft releases a console, they're pretty much the same hardware-wise. PlayStation's gonna win. So I'm really excited because that signals to me like they're gonna switch it up in a really cool way. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox Prime stuff I gotta talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Help me on my journey to 200,000 subs. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.